Morning, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to the OO show, where we talk about markets. And this is our fourth day on the air and our fourth day of panic in the street. So you're welcome, all you vol traders. I'd like to think that this is a correlation. There's a catalyst between us talking every morning and the market selling off. So,
Kill.
yeah, Dan, Matt, how you guys doing?
Doing good, doing good.
Good,
Yeah,
good. High vol is just more exciting as long as everybody's properly sized, which of course, hopefully
It,
people
it,
are. Not financial advice, be properly sized.
maybe, bro. Well, and it's also one quick comment. Instead of, I think it's easy to look at an environment that you're not familiar with, right? This isn't normal. We don't get too much of this, right? Candle after candle, 100 after 100, and
Yeah.
people just say, "This is crazy. I'm not doing." But look at it. What do they say? Glass half full or half empty. Look at it. Hey, this should be what's in front of you. What trades would you be comfortable with? But the other thing is maybe this is something instead of, we all have our one strategy and maybe it's not working now. Can you tweak that strategy? Is this a good time to maybe learn a few other things in your toolbox? Because
Yep.
you don't want to be paralyzed where there's nothing I'd be comfortable with. So look at it encouraging. Hey,
Yeah.
is, like Matt just said, something that I wouldn't normally put on in a high vol environment. Calendars and double calendars are stupendous right now. I haven't
Yeah.
used the word stupendous in a long time. I have no idea exactly what it means, but vol is staying up and you're getting wide break evens. So as long as the music doesn't stop,
Right.
it's a wonderful thing. So I think the key with this focus on not what it was, 4 months ago when you had lemonade and it was nice outside. Hey, what's in front of you? What can you put on in the environment? What do they say? Stay in the moment, like basketball. Stay in
Oh,
the,
yeah.
what's the word? What would LeBron say, Troy?
Well, a friend of mine always texts me and says the journey is the destination.
That's right.
Uh,
We're trying
it's
to,
true.
instead of, I wish it was a better environment for this, what is it? What is, and that's why as a community, everybody works together. So what is working now? And that's the key. Are there things working now? And the answer is yes. And we'll talk more about that.
That's right. We will talk more about it. So, real quick, let's get to the zero DTE rundown. First off, the big topic that we haven't got to cover yet, but I think this is the thing most everybody's interested in: UFOs. Love to get you guys talk on it. Just saw this morning. As I always do, first thing I do in the morning is I wake up and I open up the HollywoodReporter.com and just see what's happening.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, and so there's a groundbreaking UFO documentary. Groundbreaking, it says. Breaks silence on the film's revelations on basically the idea that a bunch of government officials are debating at this point. None of them are debating that aliens are real. So, quick take, Dan, Matt, are there aliens?
Matt, go for it.
As a lifetime science fiction lover, I'm going with we don't know. I think there's a lot better drones technology than people realize. That being said, I am behind on my Rogan, and I know he's had some long form, pretty thoughtful, like serious guests. Haven't watched it since probability is nobody likes to answer I don't know, so I'm going to give you a probability based answer. And I would say I'm going with probability no.
Probably
So I'm coming from on no. I will say I have a friend who almost ended our friendship a couple months ago because he had a documentary that he told me I had to watch, and I told him I wasn't going to pay for it because I have enough streaming services already and I'm not paying for a documentary. So he may be watching right now. If so, we're still friends. If not, it ended our friendship because it might have it wasn't this documentary, but it was one very similar, because this one just is coming out, right? Age of Disclosure.
Yeah. Dan?
I just say real quickly, I'm all for it. Any good conspiracy theory, I'm in.
Same.
Right?
I like a good
I
conspiracy
like
theory.
sci-fi, so I'm rooting for the alien. I'm rooting for. I mean, you could say, Troy, not switching the subject, but you could say, LeBron in a way could be an alien, only in the
Absolutely.
sense that he is a unique basketball player. Michael Jordan. You look at these players and you say, where did they come from? So that's
Wembanyama.
Yeah, Wembanyama. Yeah, I mean, you look at these guys and say maybe Pluto let us have a couple of these of the all stars,
Yeah,
people that don't normally fit in and are just exceptional.
that's how you get a 9-foot shooting guard with point guard handles. Is you grow them up in a different gravity environment. You bring them to Texas and they play in the NBA.
Yeah, and Matt,
That's the recipe.
The only problem Matt sees with Victor Wembanyama, I don't know if I could say his name, is that he's in the wrong uniform. Matt's in Indiana.
I would have hometown gear on today. The Pacers play tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, so Dan, you're taking the Space Jam theory,
absolutely,
which is that aliens have. Yeah, I like that. I think that's a smart approach to it. Yeah, I would say there are aliens, but it's not what we think they are. I think it's maybe a little bit more than just other planets having things. So I go. I don't think it's conspiratorial either. I think it's very real. But we don't have time for the long form debate on that one. But what we do have time for this morning is real quick, one more thing. I just noticed this in this picture. This is AI.
No, that's hand. I thought that was hand. You didn't hand draw that yesterday.
I couldn't get it. Yeah, that's right. I love that you. I mean, this is the thing about creativity with AI is you look at a picture like, oh, cool, AI. Like it's immediately you can know it's AI. But what's funny about that? I just noticed as we were talking, is this alien is trading stocks, obviously, and he's smoking a cigar, but notice that his cigar is smoking backwards.
That's how they do it on Pluto.
That's right. He's eating the cigar. And first I was like, well, that's a mistake. And maybe the AI was like, no, this is literally, maybe they know something we don't.
And look at his high-tech phone there. He's not using numbers to call people on his phone. He's using buttons to call people. He's got hotlines. He's got one of those is JPOW.
I hope he's buying the dip.
See, Troy, you're like, I'm not as far as the detail. I didn't catch all those. You got this Sherlock Holmes mind.
Wow.
Where okay, this doesn't fit in. This doesn't fit in.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if the AI knows something we don't. So anyway, speaking of AI, panic in the streets. Is it panic time, boys? I mean, here's the thing. That chart on the left in the image there, that's a market profile chart.
Yeah.
And basically, we are at the bottom we were, I don't know where we're at right now. A couple minutes ago, we were at towards the bottom of yesterday's range. Like we have come back all the way into yesterday's range and towards the bottom of it. That to me feels very, this is like the first day in my mind where you kind of go into it saying, oh, we're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. Right now. We might not be going down a bunch more, but we're certainly not going up anytime soon. And watch it rally 100 points today. But that's my theory.
Well, it's interesting because I just looked at my automation schedule for today, and I've got 3 Thursday strategies that are automated right now. And I think 2 of them are not going to qualify because of the VIX, because of this overnight move. And point is, I've done a decent amount of back testing on Thursdays, and a lot of, there's a lot of Thursday outliers. A high percentage of those happen when Thursday opens up. If Thursday opens up and VIX opens down, that's when a lot of the huge Thursday moves happen. We have a good amount of Thursdays that are just choppy. The expression in back in the day used to be that Thursdays were for groceries. And, there were like 3-4 weeks out of 5 or 6 last August, September, when there were just crazy moves both directions on Thursdays. And there have been some big moves, but we've been having big moves the rest of the week. So I have no idea. But quick look at the automation schedule. I don't think a lot's going to be coming on today, at least. So it's interesting, Dan, you made the comment earlier about maybe finding some trades that you haven't found in a little while. It's interesting you make that comment. I put on a double calendar at half size that I haven't traded in a couple of years, but was a staple in 22. And when I closed yesterday, it was dead in the middle of the range. It was a 3-4 that I opened Monday. It was dead in the middle of the range. It was up 20% at close. And we're going to open up assuming we open up around 57.80, 57.70, 57.60, somewhere in there. We're going to be pretty close. We're going to be like right at the put strike. So I would think that thing, it's a 0-1 today. I think that thing would like it. But these moves are reminding me so far a lot of 22. So 22, a sustained sticky vol environment was good for a lot of trades. Now, I think people have had it. My perception is that in the communities I'm in, people have had a hard time so far with a lot of the 0-day stuff, just because these candles have been so massive. When I say people, I'm specifically referring to people that only view trading as premium selling, which is like a lot of retail traders only do premium selling. So if you're only doing premium selling and you're only doing 0 DTE and you're running trades that are maybe a little bit lower delta with stop losses, these huge candles are probably not this high VIX, huge candles, maybe not your cup of tea.
Yeah. Interesting. A couple quick comments. First thing that popped in my mind, again, just a overall quick thought. What if someone said to you, these candles, 100-point candles, we're going to continue for another month and a half, right? What would you, so
yeah.
put in that mind, instead of saying, say, okay, what is working? What could work? What does that mean for volatility? And I think, we would do some of the, let's make a list of what is working. Let's get what's working. Yeah.
The cool thing is actually on my to-do list this afternoon, and just talk about my approach. Again, not financial advice, certainly. This is the OO show, chopping it up. But we have access to a world-class backtester, right? So what I actually wanted to do, my approach normally is to trade backtests that have multi-year history, like pre-COVID history. And that's the majority of what I trade personally. But because this backtester, you can run backtests on any time frame. So on my list this afternoon is to explore some backtests of long strangles and use tools like profit targets, where you take some of them off when they reach your profit target, maybe making a free trade, or things like a ratchet, where you have a profit adjustment, where once a profit is hit, you tighten an adjustment so that if you get a reversion, you take the trade off. So I think there's just some of these moves are begging to be back tested and see, not just necessarily in a shorter time frame. You could simply run backtest back to 2020 and do them like with a min VIX 20 or min VIX 22 and get a data sampling that has more than 2 tests in it, and 30, 40 back tests, is that, for me, that's not rigorous enough to make a core portfolio. There are people in OO who can read the market way better than I can in our Discord community and use that to inform their trading. But you can get, if you run a test back for a longer period of time, even if it's a less frequent occurrence, like a big VIX move, a high VIX environment, a big SPX move, you can increase your data size then. And then you don't have to say, what's been working in the last 3 weeks? You can say, hey, what's been working in a VIX 22 environment since 2018?
Right.
Which
is a similarity type thing.
Right.
I think, again, is we're coming, if we open, right now, the ES is around 57.80. So that would maybe imply, what would you say, a 57.70, 57.80? 65.
Yeah, somewhere
Yes,
around there.
yeah. So basically that takes us back down, to revisit. Thanks for the memories. Again, a couple days ago, Jan 13 lows of 57.73. So we'll be flirting with that. And we'll be close enough to say hello again to the 200-day moving average. I didn't think we'd see it for a while, but we just came close to spitting at it the other day. So now we're down at the lower end of the range. So the first thought that came into my mind, and this was from yesterday, or the other day, Troy was talking about UVXY, which I haven't traded in a while, or usually if I think, again, here's the scenario. Generally when VIX is up, it doesn't, it's like doing pull-ups. It's hard to stay up there and do that many, at least for me.
Yep.
For me, not you guys. You're younger. But the VIX doesn't stay up that long, right?
Yeah.
Whereas it stays low, it could stay at 12, 13 a long time. So yesterday I had on the UVXY. Thank you, Troy, and that worked pretty well because it's like on double caffeine. If the VIX comes down, you do better. But I'm thinking right now, if we stay around this level and we don't go too much lower, the low in the E-mini is what, 57.69, 57.70 today. I would be thinking of like a VIX, maybe out 30, 40 days, a VIX vertical debit spread, betting that the VIX would come down a little bit, or a UVXY. That would be a spec trade that I would be looking at, probably one of the first trades. The second is, I think we're in an environment, like Matt said, when VIX is 20 or over, this is a double Christmas. I'll call it doubles, right? There's many doubles, right? You have a double calendar. And why they work so well, folks, is because they're way out of the money. And I mean, if you're looking at calendars or double calendars in the last few days and just look at the break evens, it's from Tennessee to California. I mean, far. I mean, it's like I was looking at calendars with 160 points break even. Now, you put up the disclaimer. Hey, do you normally put calendars on when the VIX is high? No, but as long as it stays up, it's wonderful. So you have a double calendar. What else can you do? A double butterfly. If you're concerned with the volatility coming down, same distance. If you put a double calendar on at a 20 delta either side, a double butterfly. If you want to take advantage of that short Vega, if you say, you know what, I don't know where the volatility is going. It could go up, it could go down. You could do a neutral Vega or a combo where you do a calendar on the upside or on the downside, a butterfly on the upside. So it's all in that. When I say double, I just mean the foundation is the same.
Yeah.
Going out of the money call and put. But I will say, it's interesting, Option Omega has a history of being great at the, not trying to paint you in a corner, on the Ricks, right? I just like the name. So any opportunity to say the word Rick, I'm in.
The Rick thing is kind of recent. I mean, there have been people that have been trading them from years, but we did a video last fall that a bunch of people watched, and it was just really simple. And I just think it's super interesting to me, and I love to talk more about it, like a double butterfly. That's super interesting. But I think what happened from my perspective is we launched in 2022 and then dailies came out shortly after. And 2022 was a high VIX, sticky VIX environment. And it was like a vol seller's dream.
Yeah.
And there are so many back tests that were just like our back test of the year. We could have had 800 tests in there. There were so many tests that did well. And I think a lot of retail people got locked into a mindset that like, credit selling. Well, if you're using, and I understand that, but if you're going to come from the perspective that options are mostly fairly priced most of the time, then if you're going to find an edge, you would think you could find an edge with credit selling, but you could probably find an edge with debit buying as well in circumstances when markets misprice the probabilities both directions. So it's just confusing to me that people that only say I only do one type and haven't explored the other. But
don't you think, Matt, it's like, I think of on this alien kind of mood for the day. But it's like, to me, I look at this is bad. Let the force be with you, and to me that means let the market tell you what to do. People can say nothing's working, but if you have, the nice thing about a community is people doing different things. It's like you're an air traffic controller. Hey, what's working? And you can see right now what's working. Point. Double calendars are working. Ricks are, reverse iron condor. And the nice thing about reverse iron condors, and folks, it's basically, it is what it sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Reverse iron, and you could have a reverse iron butterfly, but you're buying an out of the money call, let's say 40 points out of the money in SPX, buying out of the money put, and then your wings, which you're selling, are, let's say 20, 30 points apart. What I like about them is what's, the good, the bad, and the ugly of Clint Eastwood focused, they're negative theta. So, you need some movement for this thing to work, right? But the great thing I like about them is they're pretty neutral volatility. They're not gonna, if VIX drops, if your fear, like a double calendar, your fear is we go through a funky volatility period, right? Like Matt says, between maybe the election and, what would you say, Matt? There was like a 3-month period.
Maybe like 6 weeks before and after, where the vol environment was just a different environment. And then it ran into the holidays, which always are a little bit different. You have short days, you have exaggerated moves sometimes, weird vol behavior. So we're literally just coming out of that here in the last 8 weeks. We're only in the ninth week of the year, 9th or 10th week of the year.
Yeah.
Well, do you care if I to that point about, what's interesting to me about that is, like, everybody, I saw a guy the other day who only does this one thing. He only trades this one way. And he, during the good times, which were like 3 weeks ago, apparently, he's sitting there, telling his grandma, he's calling his sister, he's just getting a phone book calling people and telling people, like, you got to trade this one way. And anytime someone says they're trading another way, he says, bro, what are you doing? Like, this is the way. Well, I saw this week, he's like, I'm dead. Like, these things are killing me. And what that shows me is that, like, he's going to switch. That's the type of guy who's constantly switching to another style, but not to learn to find the one.
Oh, in the retail community, when I left the pit 20 some years ago and came into the retail community, that's it. It's like, people are on a journey. If they don't get their, that shiny object, they'll just keep going around to every community in the option, looking for the special thing when really it's in front of you. It's learn the craft, right? Learn the craft, understand, but it really is, how do you survive each day? What's the market kind of, and that's the thing, focus on today. Now, if you say, I'll use the word comfortableness. That's kind of my key word for this week. What trade would you feel comfortable with in this market, right? We're not, people say, oh, for the days when the SPX wasn't moving and the VIX was 14, or when the VIX, like Matt says, in 2022, the VIX range was 19 to 31. But it wasn't as rocky as this with the candles.
Right.
And it was wonderful. So we're here. And I think wouldn't everybody agree, even the viewers, every day that we are seeing these big candles, you get a little more comfortable with it. That's a bad thing to say, like you get comfortable in a snowstorm.
Oh, yeah.
But you're kind of getting, okay, would this work? And I think, anyways, and I think even, having these doubles, and that's what I just think the double type strategies are working because they have a lot of range. Now, long Vega is working better than short Vega right now. I think, not that short Vega short term can't work, but with that long Vega, as long as the VIX stays up here. But we've been in this range. This is about the high end of the volatility range if we open up 23.5, 24. So
that's right.
For me, until we blast through, kind of this 200-day moving average and say,
Yeah.
That's it. But I don't. We just giving our opinions. I don't know anything. But in terms of where the market's going,
For sure.
I still think with this, it's a moving. With the whole tariff thing, I think they'll work it out. Again, I was thinking historically. Do you have any information on historically how have tariffs done in the past? Have they lasted a while? Have they figured it out? I mean, either of you have any?
A tariff would have to be enacted for more than 1 week or one day for us to actually, and I don't know if that's ever happened. I honestly don't at this point.
Not at this scale in recent history. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the examples that are used are like 100 years ago when they talk about it.
Yeah.
So
let me show.
There wasn't even a U.S. income tax back then.
That's right. That's right.
A little bit different.
Let me show 3 tests to kind of show you to the point of like how everything is working and not working depending on what you do in your risk management.
Right.
Troy, are you showing a new feature today?
Well, so this is
because I could put it on the Discord. I think
this isn't live yet.
Okay.
This is so you're not seeing all the parameters that you'll be able to see, but we're working right now. One of the features we're coming out with soon is intraday VIX movement. So putting a test on if the VIX does something intraday. And so this is a test going back to the COVID crash. And you, for those who are new to Backtest or new to Option Omega, it's like, well, how do I know the dates? You just click the button COVID crash. We've got it set up for you in there. But this is basically, it's a real dumb test. I guarantee you there's better tests than this, but this is to show it off a little bit. What this is basically, Dan, is anytime the VIX moves intraday 20%, so you think about we're moving. This is a fast-paced market, right? A really big pop on the VIX. You sell a 4-day 25 delta put spread, all right? You open it
20%, right?
What's that?
Anytime VIX goes down or up 20%.
Up 20%. So it's like one of those massive vol expansion days, that only happens a few times, a year maybe. But the idea of saying on a day when everybody's scared, if I just gently and calmly sold a 25 delta put spread that was 4 days out, and I took profit target at 10%, I was just in it for a minute. I'm not sitting here to expiration. I just want 10%. and I'm going to get all 300% stop loss. So it's a small profit for a big risk comparatively, but you do have some risk parameters on there.
Yeah.
And you think about it, you're really you're trading this at the worst case time. Like a 20% vol expansion intraday means like, we're probably down 2 to 3% in the SPX.
Yeah, because you're talking a 3 or 4 point move possibly in the VIX, right?
Is that yeah, for sure. Depending on where you're at.
15 would be 3, at 20% of 20 would be 4. So 3 to 4 points up in the VIX. So you're talking a good 50, 60 points down at the opening or something, right?
Yeah, it'd be like if VIX today hit 30. Roughly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the type of day you're putting this on.
Yeah. And just to clarify one thing, we have some other VIX tools already in the backtester. This is an intraday move of VIX. So we're measuring it from whenever VIX prints in the morning, typically 9:32, minus a minute or two, to whenever this test is going on, because Troy's got a floated entry here.
Yeah, and it's not, and again, you won't be able to find the intraday VIX movement. It'll be out soon, but I just wanted to show this off a little bit. But anyway, I thought that was super interesting. I mean, because basically what you're doing is you're saying, like, when everybody's scared, when everybody is, we've been saying all week, Dan, the market's not panicked. This is when the market actually panics. When the market actually gets scared. Yeah. I'm just going to gently put my little flag up, and I'm going to sell a 25 delta put spread. And you've done really well. It's a very small data set because it doesn't happen a lot.
Right.
But I think the key to this test, and I know it's the key actually, you cannot wait and take more profit. Because what you're going to get is in a 4-day period, you're going to get a pop. You're going to get yesterday where vol comes down a little bit. In that next 4 days, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you're going to get out with 10%. You don't want to wait around for this morning to happen where we revert back down all the way.
Well, and Troy, wouldn't you agree? A lot of this, I mean, when I was in the trading pit for 20 whatever years in CBOE, did market makers understand technicals? A bit. Yeah. But what they were by nature, and they still are, they're contrarian, right? Yeah. They're contrarian. Yeah. They're just saying, and that's not easy. That's not easy to do, right? Because you're basically saying, if you're a contrarian, when the market's going down at some point, you're stepping up and challenging the bully and saying,
that's right.
I'm going the other way. And when it's going up a lot, when it just feels, it's like when your body almost feels cringy on the upside. Yeah. You're going the other side. And
that's right.
And it's, that can be sometimes contrarian. You could get punched in the nose, but I think overall it's a good way of doing it. Now, I think what I've learned coming from the pits to here, I've learned from retail traders, people in our community, your community that are good with technicals, how you can combine technicals with contrarian. Just use some basic technicals, and I think that's the way to go. Let me ask you on that test real quick. On that test, did you find that most of those triggers of volatility happened at a gap at the open or during the day? Does it show?
Well, we have gap on there, but I can show you. Yeah, most of these are put on. Like the last 3 were put on
late in the day.
Wow!
Late in the day, but you got one. You got one at 10 in the morning, one at 11:17. They're later in the day usually looking at it, but you probably get one every once in a while where it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and again, a lot of these were like I'm going back to COVID. So if you go back to COVID, you're, as I try to say, you've got a couple here.
Those are like I think one of those, at least one of them, maybe both of them, are days that the market limited down, had circuit breakered.
But think about it. You're talking the most scary time in the history of civilization.
Look at the VIX, 76 VIX, 80 VIX, 62
do contrarian, VIX. But now one of those put credit spreads lost in COVID.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? That's an amazing thing to me.
Well, and again, it's a way of thinking about the market. If we have this bad tendency to think we're all in or all out, but this is something that is very, very. I mean, Dan, you've said this for years. Like, Dan's not sitting there all day waiting for an 80% profit. Like he's nimble, and this is a trade where it requires nimble. And nimbleness, and that's what it is. Let me keep going because we're running out of time.
30-second parting thought on that, if you can go back to that. Just a reminder that intraday VIX is not in the backtester. It's coming soon, and all these backtests, they're just an idea, right? This is an idea generator, and it's going to be super interesting to see what people do with this, because like this test is you're only going for 10% profit. Like, it's a small profit target. I think once the community gets a hold of this, like a 4DT is a super interesting expiration. There's going to be a lot of stuff that that comes out of some interesting VIX intraday move backtesting. So coming soon.
Yeah, let's keep going. Stuff that is absolutely in the backtest right now. So I'm going to show 2 tests real quick that are polar opposite. One is a credit selling, one is a debit buying. Okay. And so this is an iron condor. It's a 0-day condor. This is not my cup of tea. I don't like 0-day condors in general. I don't sell a lot of 0-day stuff in general. So this is on any overnight move up of anything. Like it's a penny in VIX. Any overnight move up in VIX of a penny, right? We're going to sell the 15 delta put and call, and it's a 25 wide wingspan. And we're opening the trade first thing in the morning, 9:32. We're allocating 10% of the portfolio in this test. don't advocate allocating any amount, whatever, talk to your financial advisor. And there's two parameters, exit parameters. Well, actually, there's just one. Stop loss of 300%, and I've switched on to make it more rigorous the intra-minute stop loss, which means instead of checking once a minute, it's going to check the open, high, low, close with that basically, and get out if you would have got out in that minute, you'll get out within the specific time of it. So that's a very simple Condor, a very, very simple Condor.
That is super simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Not to get, we're running up on time here, so I won't go too deep into it, but Troy does have IMSL on. The losses are not capped. So somebody might look at this and say, well, you only have 10 cents stop loss. So, but yeah, but the losses also aren't capped. So there's a couple different ways you can backtest this, but it does have, I mean, you're going back to daily. So you have 400 plus data points, which is that's a decent little data sampling. If this is the cup of tea that you like, there's a lot more you could do with this. Leg groups, bunch of different things you could check out.
Dan, any quick thoughts on this before we go to the next one? I know we're up on time.
Yeah. What was the profit target on this?
This one has no profit target. So this
all
is just let it ride.
Bring it.
300%.
So profit target, 300% stop loss. That's 300%, not of the margin or risk. It's 300% of the. So how would you quantify
credit?
This?
Yeah, you can see the
credit.
So it's basically credit times 4 is one way to look at it.
Okay.
And it's uncapped, so it might be it's going to be a little bit more than that, and then there's a little bit of slippage on it too. So
sure.
This is pretty interesting for such a simple, straightforward test, Troy.
Well, I'm going to combine it here in a second. But Dan, I interrupted you. That's my bad.
No, you're fine. Yeah. But what's interesting about this real quick is the fact that sometimes we think 0-day iron condor, I want high VIX. And this is, if you look at all the numbers here, you're not saying you want a high VIX. You're just saying mine is overnight move up and VIX is 0.01. So plenty of times on these trades, VIX, I'm sure, was 12, 13, 14, 15. And that's
sure.
So people, I think, have this thing like, I'm not doing VIX at, iron condors, VIX 12, 13, 14. But over the years, I felt they were, that's where we are most of the time.
Yeah. No, that's right. And the 25, I mean, the thing about options is beautiful is, you're putting a 15 delta. That 15 delta is going to price to a 12 VIX. It's not going to price, it's going to price to a 20 VIX. And so if you're doing fixed premium, you might need to look at that a little bit.
That's right. Super
Deltas are built for a reason. So, all right, last one real quick. This is the exact opposite, literally the exact opposite. Anytime there's a VIX overnight move down of a penny.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You're just going to buy the straddle.
Yeah.
And you're just going to not do anything else.
Do nothing.
That's literally all you do.
Buy and do nothing.
Buy the straddle anytime there's a VIX overnight move down of a penny.
And it's one half the time in the last almost 3 years, 250 plus data points. And what happens with this is you can catch a pretty nice winner here and there, and definitely winner steak dinner occasionally if you hit one.
That's a straddle or strangle?
Straddle. So it's the 50 delta.
You would not even. Yeah, I mean, you would, and so that's a straddle, and you're putting on every day or certain days.
Every day that the VIX, it's the opposite of the last one. Anytime the VIX opens down. Anything.
Okay, and the profit target is.
There's no profit target. And here's the key to this trade. It's truly your set it and forget it. And this is your risk management in my mind. A small percentage.
Yeah.
A small percentage of your capital.
Yeah. Size is a tool.
Yeah. And we're not saying, backtesting, we can do a whole week on backtesting allocation. So
sure.
That's a whole discussion, but what I like about that one is it's really not fitted at all. All you're doing is looking at the at the VIX move. You're not
Yeah,
even
I mean,
treating the VIX move. Is it the old gladiators? Is it a thumbs
yeah,
up
that's
or a
right.
thumbs down? That's it.
That's
Like,
right.
are you not
So
entertained?
anyway, I thought this was interesting. Again, you know, options involve risks, but this is a portfolio. So Dan, in Option Omega, you can combine tests into a portfolio and run them together to see what it would look like.
Yeah.
And so these two tests, VIX move up, VIX move down, two strategies, the long straddle and the selling the 0 DT Condors. I'm going to run this. This is year to date. So this is ran year to date.
Crazy.
Just if you just did those two strategies with a 10% allocation of each.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about this is you'll have something to do every day because either the VIX will be up or the VIX will be down.
Unless it's completely unchanged.
If it's completely unchanged, that's right. You will be missing out on that thing. I know we're running up against time, guys. Any parting thoughts about that? I thought that was an interesting talk about just things to do that are very different strategies, but you know, each day is different. Each day gives you something different.
And the brown one is what again? The brown one?
The brown, the gold is basically your portfolio P&L compared to the SPX year to date.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah, and it's I think even you can do similar environment, long Vega and short Vega can both win. And sometimes it's the plan, right? It's how you trade it. And I think
100%.
Because conventionally people wouldn't think, as a premium seller, you wouldn't think, boy, a steady diet of long straddles is going to work.
Right.
It can. Yeah.
If the key with those long straddles, I'm gonna be the guy constantly on the Rick talk, like the voice of I'd like to think reason, but also maybe too much risk.
Yeah.
Ricks are reverse iron condors, long straddles. It's my favorite trade, and I've lost so much money in my life trading them because I did not allocate the correct amount of percentage.
Yeah.
I got too excited about it. And so you have to be really careful. Anyway, guys, that was a great talk. I appreciate you. We'll be back on tomorrow to finish the week. Will the week be up? Will the week be down? If we're up tomorrow and we finish the week up, I might just quit. I don't know. We'll see. But blessings to you guys.